Graeme from Sports Forecast. Welcome along, mate. The Rugby Championship is just around the corner. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, thanks. Very well. How are you?
I am not bad. It's a wee bit brisk here in Auckland as we kind of come to the end of winter, but things are about to heat up. We got some All Blacks, Springboks, Wallabies, and Pumas getting into the action.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've kind of had this competition. Obviously, it's a full version this year, and here to pick your brain, or more accurately, I guess, your algorithm's brain about how things are gonna go. Who do you have as the favourites?
Well, let me just get it up. Here we are. I just feel like I should preface this with a trigger warning for South African fans. I'm really sorry, but at the moment we've got New Zealand as the favourites. Yeah, I sent this to you a couple of days ago, and
You did, and it came as a little bit of a surprise because I've been looking at the bookies, and the bookies have got, like, not by a stupid amount, but they are certainly edging towards the boys in green.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I agree. I've dug into this and had a look at it and tried to see if there's anything funny going on. But there's not really. The algorithm is basically the reason it's thinking. I mean, I should say it's very close.
How does the algorithm work? Because the algorithm obviously takes all the emotion out of it. The algorithm doesn't care, about who's kind of recent World Cup champion, right? It's basically looking at for and against. That's looking at like recent results, all that kind of stuff. You explain it better
Yeah,
than I can.
exactly. It's basically we've got our own set of rankings, so you can see actually it's basically this is the current rankings. You can see we do have it's very close, but we've got New Zealand as marginally ahead in the rankings. So it's basically looks at those rankings, and then also historical results, basically. So it tweaks slightly depending on location and different things like that, basically, and sort of scoring patterns in the matches. But it's basically looking at previous results between the two sides, largely in the location that they're playing. And I mean, the reason, if we're going down, over the whole championship, the reason New Zealand are favourites is that if we look at the predictions for the individual matches at the top here, it comes as no surprise that the important fixture for determining the overall title is the match between New Zealand and South Africa. Edging towards New Zealand for those games, it's incredibly marginal, I have to say. Personally, I think South Africa will probably are more likely to win it, but it would not surprise me if New Zealand and they came out at one apiece in that kind of two match series, basically. So that's kind of what the algorithm thinks is going to happen. It thinks it's most likely they're each going to win one, and then if you look at the other matches, New Zealand have easier other fixtures. At the moment, the algorithm has Argentina as a little bit stronger than Australia, although obviously in the last couple of matches, Australia did actually look quite good, but that's quite a recent turn of form. So Argentina are in the algorithm's eyes better than Australia, and New Zealand play Argentina at home and Australia away. South Africa have Argentina away and Australia home. Is that right? Or did they flip as well? No, it's right.
The Aussies have got the South Africans in Australia for 2, and then the Boks and the Pumas they swap one each.
Yeah. Oh, well, New Zealand have got both. It looks like they've got both Argentinas at home, basically. So
yes, that's right. That's right.
So yeah.
So it's actually not the All Blacks and the Boks that kind of matters in terms of the predictions here, because it's so close. It's looking at All Blacks 1 potentially, and South Africa 1, and the other fixtures being the decisive factor.
Yeah, exactly. And even though we expect South Africa to win those games as well, it's they're looking at the bonus points and the points scored in those games as well. It thinks New Zealand are going to be marginally on top. So yeah, I think that's probably a much better way of putting it actually than my very long-winded explanation. But yeah, the other fixtures look like the actually more important ones for determining the outcome of the title. But it is extremely close. I know it looks like
right.
When you look at this chart, it's 60-40 there. So that's not much fun. That's not far.
It's pretty marginal.
So yeah. I think the other interesting thing to bring in, if I just flick windows slightly, is this. So this is I've got an Excel sheet that shows you a bunch of sort of historical matches, and filtering here for South Africa versus New Zealand. In South Africa, you can see recent
All
match.
Blacks have actually got a pretty decent record in South Africa,
Yeah.
hey?
New Zealand have got a very good record in South Africa. I mean, if you're looking, what's this? This is the last sort of 10, 11 games. That's 11 games there. New Zealand have won 8 of them. Now, I know that's going back a long, long time. We're talking 2010 there. So a lot of those matches, are kind of how much influence would they have on the outcome of today, of, this month's game, next week's game or whatever? Not much, but in the algorithm's eyes, it looks at this and says, "Hey, New Zealand are pretty good in South Africa, so we're going to give them a bit of a boost, basically." So yeah. Now, as I said, I think I'd be edging towards South Africa, but as I think I said previously on these kind of things, the algorithm is a lot better at this than me. So I think it won't be far wrong. But I'd give South Africa a bit extra.
Right. So it's basically saying it's either the All Blacks or South Africa, either way. How about the other two sides? What's going on with the Wallabies and what's going on with the Pumas?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they obviously, as you can see, it doesn't think they've got much chance of winning, which I think is probably fair. That's not. I mean, the bookies are roughly the same, to be honest. So that's.
Yep.
But I think the interesting thing is, yeah, is back in Argentina a bit more. Historically, that probably wouldn't be the case, but Australia, yeah, they haven't had great results recently, and the Argentines have turned over a few people. So I think it's a clear divide between the top two and the bottom two, but it doesn't mean that the games with Argentina and Australia aren't going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see where those teams end up, and different results for them could, if Argentina put in a performance against one of in South Africa, then they could affect the outcome of the championship. So yeah, it'll be interesting to
What's
see.
the algorithm saying for the games? The Pumas are hosting the Wallabies. How much has it got the Pumas as favourites by?
So 60-30, 70-30, 2019,
Okay.
19. So you can see. So yeah. So not huge in it. I mean, Australia have got a reasonable chance, obviously. 1-3 is not beyond the realms of possibilities. But it's edging towards Argentina, and you can see, actually when South Africa come to visit, it's the opposite, 1-3 chance for Argentina. So it's not an insignificant chance for Argentina win there. So yeah, I suppose that's a nice way of looking at how the algorithm at least sees those matches. So.
And the algorithm doesn't take into account the Joe Schmidt factor. The algorithm doesn't take into account the Razor factor, right? The algorithm's just looking at pure results-based data.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if these guys, I mean, it will kind of be taking into account because the recent results will.
They've played some games, yeah.
They've played some games, but it won't be taking it into account massively. I mean, if Razors had 3 games with Fiji, was it?
3 games, yeah.
So it's not really gonna move the needle much. So yeah, not at the moment. But once they get into what have they got, 6 games here, 6 games here, 3 in the autumn tests, you'll start to see it feeding in a lot more, and those that kind of added factor will start to be fed in, basically. So it'd be interesting to see what the rankings were when they joined and what the rankings are when they at that point in time, to sort of do a bit of a comparison to see, because I have done that before with different coaches, and you can see the rise and fall, and then you can kind of sort of say how much was that rise in ranking due to that particular manager and that particular coach and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So certainly a bit of the Eddie Jones fallout is still affecting the algorithm in terms of where the Wallabies are at, hey?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Australia, if you look at our rankings down the bottom, Australia, they're way down. I mean, they've risen a little bit. These are my rankings for the teams. These are not
Not the world rankings, yeah.
I mean, they've risen a bit because they beat Wales, obviously. But they're down around Wales, Fiji, Italy at the moment. So yeah, I mean, the algorithm has worse than Italy. So that's probably not where most Australians would naturally feel they should be. And I would tend to agree. And it does look like they've turned a bit of a corner. So it will be interesting to see how much they, overperform these predictions, because that's another way of looking at these predictions. You can always say this is kind of what we'd expect to happen. And if a team is overperforming them, then that could be due to a new coach or something like that. So you can start to see the effects of these things coming through.
Well, there certainly are a lot of unknowns with this Rugby Championship, just because the Pumas have got a new coach, the Wallabies have got a new coach, the All Blacks have got a new coach, and then Russie's kind of back into the more familiar hands-on role for South Africa. So I think it's part of the excitement with this one is the kind of unknown factors. What about you and your gut as a Scotsman? Do you kind of have a preference for this one? I know you said South Africa, but like, do you have a soft spot for the Argentinians as the underdog, or are you like a kind of closet All Blacks fan, or how does it work with you?
Probably. I'm kind of indifferent, I think, genuinely. I think marginally towards the All Blacks. I like watching the All Blacks play.
Right,
They traditionally have always played more exciting rugby, in my eyes
right.
at least. Although, I mean, I've got huge respect for the way South Africa play the game at the moment with I mean, I suppose people traditionally think South Africa are big, strong people, and they are. Obviously, the team is fantastic. But actually,
Yeah,
their backline's phenomenal at the moment. Look at the running backs
exactly.
they've got. Um, they score some fantastic tries. So yeah, I mean, I will 100% be tuning in for both the New Zealand South Africa matches, just to see what happens. Basically, see if the algorithm's correct. But yeah, I think I would love to see. I always like seeing Argentina and Australia, especially at the moment with the slight underdog status. So I think there's.
Mm.
It's nice. It's nice for me to watch a tournament and not have any personal jeopardy involved in it. Because usually I get far too into these things, and the Six Nations is a real tense affair, and I'm thoroughly stressed throughout the February and March. But now I can just enjoy this, and it doesn't have any. Yeah. How are you feeling ahead of it? Are you confident as a Kiwi, or is this?
I mean, like what your numbers have got. I mean, my gut also tells me that 2 away games in South Africa are going to be tough. But like when you do look at the data, like you've shown, the All Blacks can play well in South Africa. Have done it pretty regularly. So it genuinely wouldn't surprise me to see it go 1-1 in the South Africa All Blacks kind of matchups, like the algo is kind of predicting. And then it may come down to other games, right? Like the Box first game is at Suncorp in Brisbane, where they have a really bad record, but then the Wallabies are in this rebuilding phase, so they could be there for the taking. Like there's so many unknowns,
Yeah.
which keeps it interesting. But yeah, I don't think any Kiwi fans would go into a Rugby Championship thinking anything but we should win it, because our record in the competition is genuinely pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, I think it'll be super interesting. I mean, and then also with like the bonus points too. I mean, in the Six Nations, the bonus points have become a real thing, and teams, go for them. Like, the teams will be kicking penalties in the last few minutes to get a losing bonus point.
Yeah, I
Or
think there's been a few close Rugby Championships in recent times. Like Ian Foster, I think, especially in like one of the COVID years, had a pretty poor run, but still managed to kind of squeak through on it was either bonus points or points difference or something like that, where we lost to Argentina for the first time the year that South Africa didn't play. I feel like in that last Rugby Championship, was it the World Cup one or the one before, where South Africa needed to beat Argentina by a certain margin to kind of overtake the All Blacks, but they didn't manage to kind of get it done. So yeah, it could well be a factor. And if it does go down to the wire, then that's a
yeah,
good thing for the competition, I guess.
yeah. Are teams aware of that? Do they really go for bonus points? Because that's what I sort of, I would always expect rugby champs, like, it feels quite one-sided apart from the New Zealand South Africa games, basically. Yeah, I don't know if teams.
Yeah. I think it's definitely on the agenda. I'll have to run the stats. I think I've run them in the past, and I think generally compared to the Six Nations, there's been more tries and fewer penalties kicked.
Yeah,
But
that
yeah,
doesn't surprise me at all.
generally,
But yeah,
generally New Zealand to come out on top. But we'll kind of have to wait and see. If people want to check out more of this kind of data on their own time, where can they find it?
well, it's all going to be up on the Sports Forecast website, but I should say this is not quite live yet. I'm just finishing it off,
Sure.
but it will be up very, very shortly. But you can see all the individual tournaments. You can see the Rugby Championship, Pacific Nations Cup's also starting soon. You can see all the predictions and the same kind of chances for that, along with Curry Cup's obviously happening, the Bunnings, NPC starting soon, so you
Sure.
can see all the different numbers and things in there. So this will be up shortly, and yeah, check it out. It's sportsforecast.com. It's also got football, if football's your thing. So you can see. That'll be up.
Didn't you have tennis as well, or are you not doing tennis anymore?
Tennis, I had to stop doing, but it will be hopefully going up again soon. But it's just it wasn't being refreshed. So if you were interested in historical predictions for
For tennis.
a couple of years ago, then yeah, by all means check it out.
Okay.
But it wasn't live, so I had to take it down. But yeah, I hope to get it back up and running. Up and running again soon. But yeah, you can see it all in here. I think we've even got, as I say, predictions for Six Nations are already up basically.
Nice.
Ireland, there you go. Ireland, England, France. So
France have dropped, eh?
they have a bit. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how. I mean, France have had a poor run recently, but it feels like they will be able to bounce back from it because it's they had a bad run after the World Cup. I think just because the World Cup was over and so many of their players weren't just like hadn't mentally managed to process it yet. We kind of took a B squad to Argentina in the summer test. So it feels like they'll be able to bounce back, and this is probably it's underrating them. But I think it's interesting to see. You can see. I mean, last year we gave England, I think it was like a 2 or 3% chance of winning.
But
So
they're
they've
quite increased. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see them back up.
And obviously, those numbers will be changing between now and then as we get more results, like during the November test and whatnot. Hey,
100%. Yeah. So this is all updated. I mean, in theory, it's updated every day, but obviously it won't change every day if there's no results. But yeah, for sure. If you want to see how different results
track over time,
the autumn series affect the chances of the Six Nations or next year's Rugby Championship, then check it out. It's all there. So yeah. Excited for the tournament this weekend, isn't it?
Very cool, man. Very cool. Well, good to see you got the All Blacks as your kind of favorites, but like you said, I think it's going to be a tight one. I hope some of the games against the likes of the Wallabies and the Pumas, like when they are playing the Boks and the ABs, aren't kind of massive blowouts, because I think it's better for the comp if it's a bit close. Hey.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think the algorithm's slightly underrating South Africa, but probably also Australia. I think there is it feels like there's a real Joe Schmidt factor coming through. So it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe maybe not turn over one of the big teams, but if they stop them getting a bonus point or something like that
could be crucial.
So yeah, but it will be super interesting to see how it all plays out.
Exactly right. All right, man. Cheers, Graeme, for your time. And I'll put the link down in the description for anyone who wants to check out the predictions over on Sports Forecast. Cheers, Graeme.
Nice one. Thanks. Bye.